Fellow Gambians, a very good afternoon to all of you this Sunday. I hope you are all in great shape, wherever you may be in different parts of the world. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to exercise His benevolence and His compassion on all of you, wherever you may be, in any part of the world you may be today. I want to welcome all of you this Sunday afternoon to what I consider an emergency. At this moment, we are confronting two major emergencies. One is domestic, the one that is of vital importance to our country and the future of our country, our existing political trajectory and all the demarcations it's going to impact on our sovereignty, of our national development, and the position of the Gambia in the world. The second emergency concerns the regional security. The Gambia is by no means an island, by no means not an island. Our borders are very porous and very expansive. Implications, particularly security implications from one country within the region, can substantially and fundamentally alter the style of life and public security in any other jurisdiction. So as a country, we should intensify our national preparedness in order to ensure that insecurity that is very pervasive within our region, our people are able to effectively, we are in a position to effectively protect our people against a lot of the shocks, the insecurity shocks that are surrounding our neighboring countries. So today I want to welcome all of you. Suddenly Justice Babukar, Assalamu alaikum. I'm also glad to see all of you present here. I am going to deal with a national emergency. It is an emergency in that it is a situation that is imminent, and in order to avert a possible scenario, we must be adequately prepared today to discuss it as a nation, but also to prefer solutions that will augur well for our sovereignty. And this has to do with nothing but the ongoing registration exercise in order to expand the plebiscite for December 4 elections. I have always asserted, and we believe, GMC, that one of the most important indices of citizenship is the ability to participate in the public affairs of your country. And this is most affected, this is most manifested with the exercise of the plebiscite, the opportunity to vote and be voted for at an election. This is where a citizen is able to exercise a fundamental right in determining who are going to be those responsible for steering the affairs of the state. It is a fundamental right because it is a right that is exclusively reserved for nationals only. We have hundreds of thousands of Gambians who live in other jurisdictions in Europe and America, other parts of Africa, who are all either residents or citizens of some of those countries. But we understand that the main distinguishing element between a citizen and a non-citizen is the right to vote at elections and the right to be voted for at national elections to hold public office. And that is why we consider it to be the most important distinguishing mark between a citizen and a non-citizen. And so the ongoing exercise is about the destiny of the Gambia. It's about the future of the Gambia. It is very serious, and every Gambian should take it extremely seriously. Now, if you have the opportunity to register as a voter and you default in registering as a voter, you have effectively denied yourself the right to criticize or to comment on national affairs. So wherever you are as a citizen, make every opportunity, if you can, and you are within the territories, to go and get registered, get your voter's card. That is one. The second element is, as citizens of this country, we should all make sure that only Gambians are entitled to vote at elections. Only Gambians are entitled to vote at elections. And when we talk about only Gambians, we mean those who are qualified by law, by the Constitution, as Gambian citizens. If you are not a citizen by marriage, by naturalization, or by descent, then you are not eligible to acquire Gambian voter's card. But I will come to that later. For now, the emergency is that there is the possible tendency of having a large number of non-Gambians who are being registered. We have seen in social media that minors are appearing at all stations, many stations in different parts of the country, in order to register to become voters in the December 4 elections. We know this is criminal. It is egregious. It is unacceptable, and I condemn it. I condemn the attempt by any source to register minors in order to participate at December 4 elections. Now, we expect the Gambia government to come forward to likely condemn as well, equally condemn, but not only condemn, but take action, because the effort by cowards to register minors in order to influence national elections should be of grave concern to all stakeholders, not just political parties, but most importantly, to the Gambia government, whose primary obligation it is to uphold the law of the land. It is the primary obligation of the executive of the state, who swore an oath to defend, to protect, and to enforce the laws of the Gambia, to make sure that law enforcement agencies are at work to arrest all those who are behind the cowardice effort to register minors and non-Gambians in order to influence our elections December 4. Secondly, it is expected that the IEC themselves will issue a very strong statement of condemnation that minors and non-Gambians who have no business influencing our national electoral politics participating in the exercise. This is exactly what we had expected. Now, we had waited for a number of days for an official reaction from the state and also from the IEC before intervening. We did not say anything because we assumed that there would be an investigation, an urgent, thorough investigation into this criminality, and that there will be swift action from both the IEC and the state. A strong statement of condemnation followed by effective action of arrest and prosecution of those who are fraudulently intending on influencing elections on December 4. Now, we have not seen any of this. There has been no condemnation from the state. There has been no arrest. And the IEC has not taken any specific action in order to sensitize the public about the dangers and the illegality of registering non-Gambians, particularly minors, in influencing our national elections. And that is why it is important for us to come forward, not only to show our outrage, but to find a solution towards this. We are not going to solve this issue through anger. We are not going to solve this issue through emotion. We are not going to solve this issue through sentiment. And certainly, we will not solve this issue through mere criticism alone. And there is no one political source, either a political party or a group of political parties, who can resolve this issue only by themselves. It requires a combination of all patriotic Gambians, wherever you may be, all patriotic Gambians, particularly those in our communities across the countries, those who are at registration centers in various parts of the country, to expose and to identify those who are behind this criminality. We consider it an emergency because we cannot allow non-Gambians and fraudulent registration of minors to usurp the sovereign decision of Gambians on December 4. We know that could be a recipe for disaster, and we should avert any potential instability in this country. It is the only country in the world that we have. And so therefore the peace and stability of the Gambia should be of paramount importance to every citizen. And all Gambians should be interested in ensuring that we have not only free and fair elections, but a violent-free, peaceful, and stable elections. This should be the goal of all political stakeholders and indeed all Gambians, now moving towards December 4, 2021. The only reason why you should be interested in making sure that fraudulent access to voter registration is not successful is so that you will be in a position to be able to effectively stand up for being part of those who will share from the democratic dividend that we have set forward for this country. So I am calling for a working relationship. I'm calling for a working relationship among all political stakeholders, civil society and political parties, all of us to come together to be very vigilant in our communities, in our polling centers, and elsewhere, ensuring that the registration process is conducted in accordance with the laws of the land. My discussions with the IEC has also revealed another interesting factor. According to the IEC, they have indicated clearly that they will not be in the position to deny any person who appears before them with a proper national document or with a proper attestation. And they've also expressed their challenge that when someone appears before them who is a minor, but whose name and age on the attestation is conclusive enough to allow them to register, they cannot deny this minor to register, even though physically the person before them might appear to be a minor, but then in reality the documentation presented shows that the age of the person is qualified to be registered as a citizen. The IEC is right according to the law. They are not a police person. The IEC is not the police department. They are not the immigration department. Their responsibility is only to register those eligible Gambians who appear before them with the right type of documentation. Now, if the documentation is accurate and IEC is able to look at the person and the person does not appear to have the age, they have no authority on law to deny that. So we should be very clear. We should be very clear that attestations are issued by the Alkalulu and the chiefs and municipal authorities. Therefore, it is important that we are able to additionally verify that those whose names are indicated on those attestation forms are one, Gambians, either by descent, by marriage, by naturalization, or are not minors. Now, it is not just the business of political parties, not just political parties who should ensure that minors and non-Gambians do not vote. It is the responsibility of every person who calls yourself a Gambian. It is a civic right. It is a civic responsibility. So we must not rent this out. We must not sublet this to political parties alone. Because at the end of the day, whatever negative implication is imported by virtue of having non-Gambians and minors into our electoral system will be an impact that will affect every Gambian and not just political parties. And this is why I urge every one of us in our villages, in our towns, in our districts, in our constituencies, each and every one of us to be a policewoman or a policeman, making sure that those corrupt and inept district leaders and community leaders who would like to negatively impact our electoral system are denied the opportunity to do so. You can circulate all the pictures that you can. Those pictures in by themselves will not stop the exercise. It is only action that will do so. So a collusion between corrupt politicians and corrupt community leaders must not be permitted to be sustained. We must stop them as they continue to do their best to deny Gambians the sanity of an electoral system that we wanted to build. Now, the other important element we should also be mindful of is that the electoral exercise is not, strictly speaking, a competition among political parties. GMC is not in competition with UDP or GAP or NPP or any other political party. Neither is the UDP or GDC, any political party, in conflict with each other when it comes to the registration exercise. And this is why we should all get involved in information sharing. Information sharing from wherever we are. If GMC is represented at Kotu East, then GMC should be able to share the information it acquires through its observation with a GDC supporter who may be in Nyamina West. And a UDP supporter or UDP observer, let's say in Kantora, should be able to share information, with a GAP supporter who may be in Bakau, in Sani Mentoring, for example. So this element of information sharing will enable all of us to know what is happening across the country so that we can be ready enough. We can be ready enough in order to eliminate those names that have been fraudulently included, either by default or by design. Now, the revising court is there. That is another element. If you are aware and conclusively convinced that someone had registered either a minor or a non-Gambian, it is not just for you to utter. Revising court requires proof. You must go to the revising court or supply the information to us. If anyone has knowledge or information of any person in any part of this country who was made to register either as a foreigner or as a minor, and you are not able to take action, or you are not in the position to take action, please bring it to my attention. Bring it to my attention through any of our GMC outlets or through social media. Bring it to my attention, and we will go to any part of the country at any time in order to take to the revising court all those persons who were fraudulently included in the list and had no business being there in the first place. So if you find out that someone is there, wherever you may be in the world, or you have access to the information, and you are not able to do it on your own, bring it to our attention. We will take up the matter, we will go to court, and we will ensure that this person is eliminated from voting in the Gambia. And if you are a non-Gambian, you are not an enemy to the Gambia. If you are a non-Gambian, we are not asking you to leave our country. All we are saying is, enjoy every right you have as a person living in the Gambia, but the right to participate in our election is not yours. So stay away from that. If you do not stay away from the right to vote, which you do not have, then whatever consequence befall you, it is your personal responsibility. Any non-Gambian who registers or acquires a voter's card fraudulently, you must take personal responsibility for any consequence that falls on you. Any consequence, whether it is a threat to your life or a threat to any situation. But we are asking people to respect the law, to use the law and the avenues of the law to expose the illegal registration exercise anywhere in the country. And I will repeat again, if you have access or information or knowledge about any person in any part of this country who acquired Gambian documentation fraudulently, bring it to my attention, bring it to our attention. I give you an undertaking that we will take up action legally and otherwise to ensure that those who acquire our documents, are not allowed to do so. Now, let me be very clear. I am not anti-foreigner. I am not anti-foreigner. Because so many Gambians, including members of my own family, my extended family, live in different parts of the world, in Europe, in the United States, and elsewhere. They are also foreigners in those countries. I used to live in exile. I was also a foreigner in those countries. So I understand some of the challenges that non-citizens face in other countries because I lived in exile for a decade. So I understand this. And prior to that, I also traveled and studied in other countries as a non-citizen of those countries. So I am not anti-foreigner. I am not against those who are not Gambians living in this country. What I am against is that if you are not a citizen of this country, do not make any effort to vote in the election. If you do so, you do so at your own risk. If you do so, you do so at your own risk. Now, let us also be clear. Let us be clear. Now, we have a lot of people in our borders, across our borders, who are Gambians. I understand some of them are women who are married across the Gambia, across our borders. But I'll be very clear. The Republic of Senegal and the Republic of the Gambia are neighbors. The Gambia and Senegal, we share a lot in common. The Gambia and Senegal have historical ties. We have same ethnicity, we have same history, and there has been substantial migration between the Gambia and Senegal over the past century or two. Now, almost every Gambian, majority of Gambians, do have family and relatives in Senegal. Likewise, majority of many Senegalese also have families in the Gambia. But let me be very clear. The Gambia and Senegal are two separate, independent, sovereign nations. Separate and independent sovereign nations. Gambians have no business participating in Senegalese elections. And Gambians have no business acquiring Senegalese voters' cards. Likewise, citizens from Senegal have no business acquiring Gambian voters' cards. And we call on the government of President Macky Sall, the Minister of Interior of Senegal, to speak to their nationals, ensuring that they do not cross the borders to come and wrongfully participate at our elections. If you are a Gambian citizen and you live in Senegal, you are able to transport yourself to the Gambia to come and vote. Welcome to our country. We all own the country together. But any political party that organizes the transportation of Gambians from outside the Gambia under the disguise of bringing Gambians to vote into an election, that action will be considered suspect. That action will be considered suspect. Because if a Gambian who lives in Senegal deeply cares about the welfare of the Gambia, it will not be necessary for this Gambian to be transported to come back and vote. This Gambian, on him or her own volition, will make the effort to come to the Gambia and vote at our elections. Now, if we see bus loads being organized by any political party, bringing Gambians across the border and housing them at schools or public facilities, you are calling for disaster. Every Gambian who is in Senegal has a home in the Gambia. You don't need to put them at schools or elsewhere. They should go back to their country. That is what is suspected. So we are calling on all of them to go back to their homes, their villages of origin, their towns of origin, and join their communities, their home communities, and vote there where they are known. If any Gambian who is organized by a political party is housed at a public facility, whatever happened to them, whatever happened to you at that public facility will be at your own risk, because you should go back to your home community and vote at your home constituency where you have a right to be and to vote. We'll make it very clear again. If you are a Gambian and you live in any other part across the border, you are from a home or a community in this country. If you intend to vote, go back to that community. And this is what we expect is going to happen. So I'm calling on all of you to be vigilant with that and to make it quite clear. Now, all those who are trying to call me, let me be very clear to you. If you are calling me, I will not be able to pick your call now because I'm going live. So please, I do not want anyone to call me right now. I will not be able to pick your call. No phone calls. I cannot pick your calls at the moment. Thank you very much. Let me come back again. It's very, very important. The next thing that is of primary importance to all of us is that diaspora voting. Diaspora vote is very, very important. The constitution of the Gambia is very clear. The law is clear. Every Gambian, regardless of where you live, have a right to vote in that election. And that is why the right of the diaspora for the exercise of the plebiscite is also absolutely important. We support very strongly, and I've stated this elsewhere, several times, stated this elsewhere many times, that it is important for the diaspora to be involved in the ongoing in the next elections. Our position is very clear. The diaspora should be permitted to vote December 4. The diaspora should be involved in the voter registration exercise. The modalities for the diaspora to vote should have been concluded long ago before today. And we hope, and we're still very hopeful, that the IEC, together with the Gambia government, will bring into practical effect this right of the diaspora to be registered and to vote on December 4. Your citizenship as a Gambian and your rights as a Gambian are not suspended because you live outside the country. Your rights as a Gambian citizen continues to stay with you, regardless of wherever you may be in the world. And that is why it is important that the right of the diaspora is also clearly stipulated, not only stipulated, but also is exercised. And so we support that. And we will continue to engage the IEC to look at the possibility of making this real. We know we cannot conduct an international election in every country, but there are nations with great concentration of our citizens: the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, the United States, France, Germany, and the Nordic states. These are some of the countries with a very large concentration of Gambians. They should be allowed to vote at elections, regardless of whether they are legal or not legal in those countries. Their citizenship has nothing to do with whether they are legally resident in those countries or not. What is sufficient is evidence of citizenship, and that should be enough to allow them to access voters' cards. We will continue to clamor for this. We will continue to advocate for the right of our citizens outside the Gambia to vote. But then we'll make one caveat. In the event that Gambians in the diaspora are not permitted to vote, which will be very unfortunate, in the event that they are not permitted to vote, which we will condemn, then this fairness should be applied across the board. If Gambians in the United States are denied to vote, Gambians in Europe are denied to vote, then Gambians across the border should not also be permitted to vote. One rule must apply to all. We cannot discriminate among our citizens in the exercise of our rights. All Gambians are entitled to equal protection under the law. All diasporans are entitled to equal protection and equal privileges of Gambian law. So if we allow part of Gambians across the border to vote, we should make similar arrangements for Gambians also in other parts of the world, particularly in Europe and the United States, to vote. But we must not say Gambians in Europe do not support my political party, so because of political reasons they should not vote. That would be unfortunate. That would be unfortunate. A leader should exercise leadership. And leadership is not just about being the head of a political party or being the head of a country. Leadership is most manifested in how you administer your citizens. Leadership is manifested in how you extend the rights that accrue to a citizen to all of your citizens. Leadership is not just about GMC leader, or leadership is just about party A. It is about how you are able to ensure that the dividends of democracy and the advantages and opportunities that are availed by virtue of the state's, the existence of the state, are also extended to all of your citizens wherever they may be. The Constitution of the Gambia, which is our national embodiment, is very clear that all Gambians are equal. So therefore, GMC is committed to a process that allows Gambians in the diaspora in Europe and the United States to also vote at December 4 elections. And we know we may not have a large number of supporters in those countries, but they are Gambians, and I'm not more Gambian than them. If I have the right to vote, if Guinea-Bissau can organize elections overseas, if Guinea-Conakry can organize elections overseas, and if Ivory Coast, if Burkina Faso, if Mali, these poor countries can organize elections overseas, certainly the Gambia should be able to do so. Certainly, the Gambia should be able to do so. So we do not have the excuse to say we do not have the resources or the logistics or the ability to mobilize. I think the diaspora itself should continue to clamor for this. So here, the emergency is one. We must all work together to stop the ongoing registration of minors across the country. And we must work together to ensure that the government is compelled to arrest and prosecute those who are involved in this illegal exercise. Number three, we must all work together to ensure that non-Gambians who are not citizens either by descent, by marriage, by naturalization, are not allowed to acquire a voter's card. If your mother and your father are not Gambians, but you are born in the Gambia, it is not me, it is not anyone else. The law of this Gambia, the law of this country, I did not make the law. But it's my responsibility to enforce that law. It's my duty to observe that law. It is my duty to explain that law. So nobody should take a personal issue with me. I am not saying that if your parents are not born in the Gambia, you are not a Gambian. It is the Constitution of the Gambia that states that if you are born in this country, your father and mother are not Gambians, and you have not naturalized in any manner, please do not shame yourself. And we know too many people are involved in the political process. There are even some who are members of party structures whose parents are foreigners in this country. Do not humiliate yourself. If you acquire our cards, we will take you to the revising court and we will seize it from you. Let us make this clear. It is not Mai Fati who is saying that if you were born in this country of foreign parents, you cannot vote. It is the Constitution of the Gambia that states so. Now, if you wish to change this law, there is a process we can change this law. And I will make it clear here that a GMC government or any government in which GMC has a strong influence, we will do our best to offer citizenship to all persons who were born in this country. even if your parents are foreigners, even if your parents are foreigners, if you are born in this country, we will support a change in the law to grant you citizenship. Let me repeat. GMC will support amending the law to make it possible for those who are born in this country of non-Gambian parents to acquire citizenship. But until then, respect our laws. Stay away from our politics. The other part I'm coming to is very clear. This is about regional security. This is about regional security. We all woke up today and to the sad news of about 160 people who were killed in Burkina Faso and about 88 people who were also killed in northern Nigeria. We are aware of the ongoing instability in Mali, the confrontation between the government forces and Azawad. We are also aware of the problem in Niger, the conflict, ongoing conflict with terrorists. Our region is very unstable. We are also aware of the ongoing low-intensity conflict in Casamance. Only last week, there was a confrontation between the Senegalese forces and rebel groups in the Casamance area. So the Gambia is not an island. We are impacted by all this instability that is going on in our region. We must not wait until there is an explosion somewhere around the tourist area in Senegambia or any other part of our country. We must not wait until trouble comes to us. Then we begin to act. We must preempt this insecurity, because sooner or later, the Gambia may be impacted by the growing insecurity that is around West Africa. Our borders are porous. The Gambia government is not able to fully patrol its borders. The number of unofficial entry points into the Gambia are numerous. There is a mass movement of people back and forth. There is a great amount of smuggling that is going on of narcotics and other contraband into our country. We simply do not have the security apparatus to effectively police our borders. That leaves us continually vulnerable to threats, external threats that come from the region. And this is why it's very important that as we look at the insecurity, there's some slight issues with the internet connection. That is one issue also we need to resolve. Like we indicated, we have to continue to look at the insecurity within our borders. The Gambia is no longer the same. Post-2016 presidential elections created a new nation with new expectations and new opportunities. It has also redefined our national priorities, including our position within Africa and the world. Suddenly, the Gambia is enemies to none, friends with all countries. Our national security considerations must adequately respond to regional and global dynamics vis-a-vis our national interests. Now, in taking advantage of the new opportunities and tackle the threats and potential threats in the Gambia, in the new Gambia, we must pursue a forward-looking national security policy, which are attuned to the realities of our new era. That is to say, the Gambia, as I have always indicated, must aspire to become a powerful force for peace in the region. But how do we prepare our nation effectively to face the security challenges of the 21st century? I indicated that today we have 160 people killed by a terrorist attack in Burkina Faso. Mali continues to be mired in sectarian war. We've seen about 88 people also lost their lives in Nigeria due to terrorist attacks. These things are very frequent around our borders. What we need today, these are issues, these are concerns, these are trans-border concerns that demand the attention of regional countries, ECOWAS as a whole. Our position as a political party is that it is necessary that we make a critical analytical evaluation of regional security and marshal all of our powers of state, all of the instruments of power that is available to the states within the ECOWAS region to work together in order to bring to bear so that we can effectively resolve this endemic insecurity within and around our borders, the Gambia being no exception. The issue here is that when I was the Minister of Interior, I had organized a conference, a security conference of ministers, security ministers within the Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Burkina Faso had expressed interest in participating at this security summit because they were also at the same time facing serious crisis just like now. But what we need today in order to solve this conflict, we need a new strategic approach. A new strategic approach to work within regional and global alliances to promote internal security. Because a strong internal security will have greater positive implications on external security. If we are weak in terms of our security internally, we will not be of any effective use to our friends and allies externally. And that is why it is very important that across the region, all countries should work towards achieving strong internal security, and so that together we can partner in ensuring that our borders are jointly patrolled and their joint border security cooperation that will take into cognizance the objective realities of our countries, in this case the Gambia and Senegal, but also that is consistent with our national constitutions in terms of protecting the rights, the fundamental rights of our citizens. That's very important. Together with nations in our region, we must be prepared and willing to use all appropriate instruments of national power to influence each other's actions and non-state actors towards collective security. Contemporary complex security environment demands all that our instruments of national power to be effectively integrated to achieve our security objectives. Now, we will continue to be guided by our national considerations in all of this. But some of the things that we need to consider are, first, one, to foster regional efforts which we believe should be led by ECOWAS to promote peace and security in our sub-region, Africa as a whole, to increase cooperation in confronting new security threats that defy borders and unilateral solutions, and to strengthen the military to our diplomatic and law enforcement tools necessary to meet these challenges. And lastly, to create more jobs and opportunities for our youth through a more open and competitive economic system. We must build a future for the youth. We must build a future for the youth. And the youth must see themselves being reflected in this planning. In other words, the hopelessness and the lack of hope, the hopelessness that we see in our youth today, and the lack of guidance, these are some of the reasons why there is an escalation in crime. So, in order to resolve all of these issues, we must attack the root causes of these problems rather than fighting the symptoms. The symptoms are what we see today: insecurity. The root causes is actually poverty. That is where we need to go. Poverty is the cause of this. Joblessness among the youth. lack of adequate preparation from school to after-school life. All these are some of the effects of what we witness today. So it's very important that we are able to give national priority to these issues and not just politics alone. I have been around for some time now, and I'm going to some of your questions. Some of you who had submitted questions, I will make some effort to respond to those that I believe I have. If I do not answer your question, you can please write back your question. I had written some of this on a piece of paper, but like I indicated, if you do not hear your question being answered, please resubmit your question again, and we will make the efforts to answer them. There's a question by Lamin Sunjata. Lamin Sunjata's question is about registration of the challenges of registration that they have in Sukuta and Gunjur. Lamin Sunjata, your question is, what do I think with the IEC, the problems that the printing machines are encountering and all the other situations? Suddenly, according to you, the IEC is not able to register more than 100 a day. And with the period that is assigned for registration, it's impossible to register all Gambians, all eligible Gambians during that period with about 100 a day. Now, it's very true. The problem of the printing machines is not common to Sukuta and Gunjur alone. Different countries. Yesterday, I was in Kotu observing the registration process on behalf of GMC. I spent some time with the IEC officials, and I sat down and observed the process myself so that I know what is happening on the ground. And what you've said is true. There was a time when it was very difficult, in fact, even to turn on the machine. The machine was on, but according to the IEC officials, it was indicating low battery. So for quite a long time, people were there sitting down just waiting for the machine to cool off so that the job can continue. So you're very right. I am able to say this because I've witnessed this myself firsthand somewhere in Kotu, where I sat down and observed the process as a main observer for my party. So this is happening in other parts of the country as well, the information that I'm getting. The IEC came out to give reasons as to why this came. The IEC chairperson did come out and gave some answers, but it is not satisfactory. This is ongoing. So we hope that the problems of the machines and the low registration system is not the fault of the voters. This is a problem coming from the IEC. So we believe that the IEC will adjust its schedule, its timetable, in order to reflect this problem that they had created. Not our problem. It's an invention from IEC. So we believe that the IEC will extend the registration process in order to take into account the slow pace of the registration and sometimes the failure of the machines across the country. Now, we will engage the IEC in order to make this possible. And that was why 10 days ago, I indicated publicly that the period that was assigned for the registration is not sufficient because we envisage some of these problems. So I'll make it clear that as the registration process goes on, we will engage the IEC to ensure that it is able to extend the registration limit beyond the deadline they set, because these machines have problems all over the country. And as a result, the registration process has been negatively impacted by this. And we believe the IEC will be reasonable enough because this is an internal problem of the IEC and not the failure of citizens to turn up for registration. And so therefore, we expected that they will make up for the problems created by their system so that citizens are not punished for the sins committed by the IEC. So, Lamin Sunjata, I can assure you that we are going to work very hard ensuring that the Gambians are able to register and register fully, even though these problems continue to persist. But we will call on the IIGs to resolve these machine problems across the country. That is Khalifa Jabi, who talked about the TRRC recommendations. Khalifa, I would like to wait for the recommendations to come out. We will study the recommendations and look at the practicality of implementing the recommendations. And based on that, then we will be able to make an informed decision as to whether the government should implement all or not. But for now, it is premature to make a statement that the government should implement all of the resolutions, because we have to look at what is practical and what is not practical, what can be implemented and what cannot be implemented. So we should not be dealing with theory alone. So I would prefer that we wait until we are able to get the recommendations come out, and then that will be the opportune time to mention what we feel should take place. Now, if you do not have your questions here, I will urge you to bring out your questions, then we will answer them. We will devote another 10 minutes to answering your questions to that. Thank you very much. So we will be looking at the comments downstairs to see if there are additional questions. We will address them, and if not, then we will call off the session and come back again at another time. Thank you very much. Well then, now really, thank you very much for that. Osman, what is your question again? Musa Conte. Osman, please bring back your question. Bun Afan. Musa Conte, thank you very much for your question. I had indicated that the IEC is not permitted by law. According to the laws of this land, the IEC is not permitted. Yankuba, my brother. Yankuba Kujabi. Thank you very much. According to the laws of this land, the IEC cannot deny any person who appeared before them with any document of citizenship that appears genuine. They cannot deny. So if a minor whose age is 16 years appears with an attestation certificate that shows his age to be 19, it is not the business of the IEC to verify that age. It is not. Under the law, all they can do, accept that attestation and register the minor. I took up this issue with the IEC. Why would you register minors? According to the IEC, the machines that they have, their computer, is programmed not to register anybody under 18 years old. So if you appear before them and they insert your age and your age is below 18 years, the machine itself will reject you. This was the response of the IEC. But if you appear with an attestation that is above 18 or 18 and above, suddenly that age will be accepted. And that is why I made it very clear that the attestation is a very fraudulent document that is capable of being manipulated and as an instrument of really stealing an election. When GMC is empowered, we are going to do away with attestation forms. Under a GMC government, there will be no attestation at all. Every Gambian will be required by law to acquire an identity card, which we are going to use for registration purpose. Because an attestation form only has a name. A name, it does not even have an age. There is no position for an age. Only a name. And there is no picture on it. So you can take an attestation form and give it to a citizen from Burkina Faso who will come and vote at our elections because there is no picture on it. So you can give it to anyone who will tell you my name is, Ibrahima Fati. In reality, this person is not even Gambian. And that is why attestation forms are very dangerous. And that's why we should not allow them in any other election again after December 4. A GMC government will cancel attestation forms. We will remove them from our law books. And we will make it mandatory for every single Gambian to acquire an identity card. And we will make it possible for every Gambian to have an identity card by reducing the cost of acquiring an ID card. We will make it affordable for every person in this country to be able to afford. Whether you are working or not working, the cost will be such that you will be able to afford an ID card. And we will have country-round identification registration system of all Gambians. Immigration officials will be at every part of the country to register Gambians. So every Gambian should have an ID card if you reach the age of 18. And it will be cost, the cost will not be exorbitant as well. So that the next elections, we will do away with attestation forms, which are currently being abused by some political parties. Thank you very much. It's also very important. It's very, very important that we are able to get all that clearly stated as well. I understand that the voters card. I understand that the voters card is, some are saying you don't have registration numbers. That is a totally different matter. Every voters card should have a serial number. It should have a serial number to know which polling station was issued, what date it was issued, and so forth. A voter's card without any sort of number on it should not be valid at all. Should not be valid. Thank you very much. Janko Jaite, do I trust IEC? Under the circumstances, I think the IEC will do. I have observed certain polling centers, and I think so far the IEC is doing the job according to the law. Now, it is the politicians who are complicating the situation right now. Like I indicated, Janko, the law is clear. IEC cannot deny any person who appears before them with a valid Gambian documentation. They cannot deny you. Even if you are a foreigner, if you bring a valid Gambian documentation that shows that you are a citizen, under the law, they cannot question your citizenship. Under the law, they cannot deny you. That responsibility is for Gambians who are observing the process to take those names and individuals to the revising court. So, part of your responsibility as a citizen is to be vigilant, to observe, and not to remain quiet, but to take action. And I have indicated, if you are not able to take action on your own, either because you are legally incompetent, in other words, you are not legally able to do so, or you do not have the time or the opportunity, bring it to my attention. Bring it to our attention. We will take up the matter. Thank you. All those who are asking me whether I want to join any political party, I am the leader of GMC. And I'm a party leader. I would like you to go back and ask those political parties, also leaders, whether they want to join us. These are questions I cannot answer now. Thank you very much. If you believe in my platform, if you believe GMC is a political party for you, or if you believe that my party will make a very good leader, then follow me. Do not ask me to go and join any political party. If you trust in my ability, in my competence as a good leader, if that is your conclusion, support me. But you cannot make an assertion that, well, Honorable, you will be a very good leader, but I want you to join this party. No, that is not possible. If you trust me, support me. Do not tell me to go anywhere. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Osman, thank you very much. I talked about diaspora voting already in my intervention. I've indicated that our position is that diaspora should vote. It should vote. There is already a judgment of the Supreme Court on the matter. And I think we are going to continue to do that. We are going to continue to do that. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank all of you. But like I had indicated earlier, I am in this not because I want to be popular. I am not coming here to tell you what pleases your ears. I believe in the law, and I believe in the rule of law. And I believe that everybody in this country should respect the law, whether you are a Gambian or a non-Gambian. A country that is lawless, a citizenry that neglects the law, will have no order but chaos. I am a strong advocate of the rule of law. That does not make me an evil or wicked person. I want to protect you. I want to protect your families. I want to protect your communities. I want to make sure you are safe, that your wives can go to the market without fear, that your children can go to school and go and come from school without fear, that you can sleep in your homes without fear, that you can visit your neighbors in your communities without fear, that you can travel within the country without fear, that you can go and do your shopping without fear, that you can go to work and come home without fear. That is why I am tough on the rule of law. And that is why I believe that the law should be enforced. And that is why I believe that law enforcement agents should do their job. And that's why I believe we should give them the resources necessary to protect our communities. And that is why I indicated that you obey the law or be consumed by the law, not out of dictatorial tendencies, but out of the need to emphasize the necessity of obedience to the law so that we can all be protected. Our families, our communities, our societies can be protected, and that we will be able to develop this country under an atmosphere of peace and tranquility and stability. That is the only way. That is the only way we will have sustained democracy, that will have sustained prosperity, that we will be able to build an ingenious society full of creativity and opportunity. That is the only way we will be able to expand our economy, to build the jobs, create wealth, and give the sovereignty, the independence, and the clout that we need among international community of nations. That is why I have always believed that a president should be one who has the capacity to offer you personal and collective security. And that is why I will not for an inch or for a second give up in your security, in making sure you are safe. When I was minister, I did my best towards that. And those who do not want stability will not like this. But I assure you that if you are a criminal going around and you are causing havoc in communities, your days are numbered. Because in December, this country will change, and will change for the better. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I thank all of you for listening, and we will come forward. Now, there was those, before going, I just want to answer this question. You're talking about using the ID card for elections, and another one is talking about the prisons. Yes. And there's also a question that talks about the forensic lab. Let me answer this question. Look, ask any question, without any exception, about my tenure in office. From the day I was appointed Minister of Interior up to the day I was relieved of responsibility, 10th of November, 2017. You can ask any question about my performance during that period, and I will answer you honestly and accurately. So no questions are off. Ask any question about my performance in office, any question, and I will answer. Now, regarding the prisons, yes, while I was there, we had a blueprint to change the prisons, because prison is not supposed to be a place where you go out, you go in as a bad person, and you come out as a bad person. The purpose of prison, the policy that we began to adopt when I was Minister of Interior, was one of a rehabilitative, to rehabilitate. Every citizen who goes to prison should come out a model citizen, a better citizen. Every person who goes to prison without a vocation, without a job, or without a profession, should come out of prison with the means, to acquire a decent living. If you were a thief, or a drug peddler, or a misguided youth who went to prison because of the lack of opportunities in our society, provided by society, when you get to prison, we should be able to train you and change you so that when you come outside, you will have a kind of a profession that you can depend on to sustain yourself and your livelihood. That is the kind of prison system we should have. Not a prison system that, is a revolving door. You go in a criminal, you come out a criminal. Then you go back to society and commit the same havoc. That sort of prison system, criminal justice system, is a failure. And we should not fail our citizens. Even those who are in prison, the state has a responsibility towards their welfare. And that was the kind of prison system I wanted to build. Not a prison system where people can go in as a hotel, but a prison system that has a school, so that if you do not have your GCE certificate, you come out with a GCE certificate. That you can come out as a carpenter, as a welder, as a tailor, a hairbraider, a change person. That is the kind of prison system I want to build. I do not have the opportunity to see it through, but there's still an opportunity to get it done. Now, those who the one talking about the forensic lab. Now, let me state this clearly again. The issue of the forensic lab has been very clear. The Gambia government was not investing in a forensic lab. The forensic lab became necessary at a time when we took over power, and I was the new Minister of Interior. There were so many unresolved deaths. So many people were buried in unmarked graves. People like Solo Sanding and the others. We needed to identify so that their families will have closure. There are too many bones in different graves. People were killed and thrown in wells. The TRRC exposed them all. But we do not know who is who just by looking at the bone. We cannot tell. We wanted these dead people, we wanted these murdered, these people who are killed, to have a decent burial. We wanted to give them back to their families so that they can pray for them, and then they can also put them to a resting place according to our culture, our tradition, and our religion. But we cannot identify these people without forensic. We need forensic science, forensic technology to tell us that the person who died is in fact this bone belonging to that individual, so that we can identify the bones and give it to the family, essentially. And that was why the idea of a forensic lab came in. We had invited the Americans, the CIA, to help us. We had difficulties. And so we had a foreign company that wanted to build a forensic lab, and they needed government to grant them land. That would be government's contribution to grant them land. And they promised to invest around 40 million or so, 40 to 80 million on a forensic lab. And government studied that. We thought it was going to be useful because we had a plan to make the Gambia the forensic crime lab capital of West Africa. We wanted the Gambia to be in a position to resolve forensic complexities across West Africa. This is going to be something that would be quite exciting for a small country like the Gambia. So we partner up with a company that is willing to invest. Unfortunately, the company is not able to pursue with the investment, and the contract was revoked. The agreement with the company was revoked. It was a private-public partnership. Later on, they could not fulfill the investment proposal that was promised to the Gambia government, and therefore, the entire enterprise was revoked, was cancelled. It did not cost the government a butut. Not a butut was spent. Not a dime of the government was spent in the forensic lab. It was a private partnership in consultation with the Gambia government. The private partner was not able to fulfill its part of it, and the government got out of the proposal. I hope this is clear for now. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you. Well, Sally, you talk about delay of justice. We are not going to talk about delay of justice because when I was made Minister of Interior, we would not delay cases. We did not delay any case. An incident happened, we went. And let me make it clear again for all those who are watching and listening. All the places of intervention, when I was the Minister of Interior, all the places of intervention that I made while Minister were all done because I had dispatched my internal security forces to give me an assessment of the situation in those places with their recommendations, and working with my senior management team, the collective advice that I was able to gather through consultation from the High Security Command and my senior management team were the consequences of the actions you saw on the ground. They were not unilateral actions by me alone. They were consequent to thorough consultations that was conducted internally at the ministry, between the ministry and the law enforcement, senior law enforcement officials, and the senior management team at the Ministry of Interior. And as the minister, I had to sit on the driving seat and take the blame for anything that went wrong. So if we came to your community during those days, it was not because my party wanted to bulldoze your area. I came in at the time as the minister as the driver of the program to take the leadership in ensuring that pockets of violence and instability across the country are all quenched and this country remains peaceful. If you are negatively impacted, it was in the best national interest. And we will continue to do the same in the future. Thank you very much. Sarah, you talked about this was I think Sarah. Let me try to get back again and get your. Let me try to get back again and get your questions answered. Sarah Drame. You asked 3 questions. This thing, it moves so fast, sometimes it's very difficult to catch up with it. But Sarah Drame, if you are watching, I want to make the effort to answer your question. I don't want you to understand that, to have the feeling that we are avoiding your if your questions are not answered, it means because the scroll is moving so fast that it's becoming a problem. So do me a favor, if your question is not answered, do not give up. Keep doing it again, because the scroll moves very fast, so I may not be able to look at it and see it correctly. This is not the best method of question and answer. We will do that at a better time, but I want to make sure that we can get to that. Sarah Drame, right. You have the question, Sarah Drame. Your questions are: 1, what are the 3 most disturbing problems? Now, first and foremost, the 3 most disturbing problems we are going to resolve: 1 is security, 2 is the health sector, 3 is agriculture. These are the 3 most urgent issues the GMC government will confront head on from day 1. Public security, the health situation, agriculture. Public security, because nothing is impossible in an insecure environment. Citizens must feel free at home, in the streets, the way to work, the market, and everywhere. So security is number 1. We will maintain national security. Criminals, we will have no tolerance for. We will fight crime wherever they may be. We will go after them in the river Gambia. We will go after them in the market. We will go after them in their homes, in their hiding places. We will look for them and we will lock them up from wherever they may be. Crime is something we will fight. 2, health sector. It's very problem. It's a big problem in this country. So many women have died out of preventable deaths. So many of our people are dying. People are going to Senegal every day. They're crossing the border going to Senegal. There is a lot of health tourism from the Gambia to Senegal. We must put an end to this. Every district in this country has to have a medical center that is capable of performing basic surgeries. And every district in this country must have a pharmacy that is able to dispense medicine to the people in the area. So health sector is one area we are going to confront as an emergency. The third part is agriculture, because without food, without sufficient alimentary security, the independence of the Gambia will remain meaningless. If we are able to deal with hunger, then we will be able to deal with poverty. Because the greatest incident and characteristic of poverty is hunger. So we will tackle these 3 issues as a matter of urgency. There are other areas very important, but these are the 3 most important things that we will handle, number 1. Now, number 2, the health sector I've indicated. I cannot be very detailed here because questions are too much, but you have an idea. Now, why must GMC choose Gambians? Why must Gambians choose GMC? Every political party leader who is running, who intends to run for an election, must run on your record. What have you done for this country? I am asking Gambians to judge me. I am asking Gambians to judge me based on my performance in public service. That is all. I will run on my record. If you believe my record is good, then go for me. If you believe my record is questionable, confront me and engage me, and I will defend my record. Thank you very much. Sarah, I hope that answers your question. Buba Drame, military checkpoints should go off. Military checkpoints. These are, when I was Minister of Interior, that's one of the first things we did, to clear the military from civilian places. And we will continue to do that. Military checkpoints have no business. Military have no business in manning checkpoints at all. At least not under the current security situation. We have not reached a point where we would allow the military into civilian spaces. Not yet. Not yet. Thank you very much. I want you to forgive me. I'm going to prepare now. I'm going to prepare for the Maghrib prayer.